Okay, we have question, hopefully, from the floor. Okay, from Fardila Ainun. Hi, Mrs. Yamim. Mrs. Yamim. How to make leaders realize that coaching is powerful to enable learning organization, increase productivity. Sometimes leaders think they do not have much time for coaching or learning together with the staff. As an HR, we try to increase coaching activity, but in reality, it is still low in achievement. Okay, please. It's a very good question, by the way, and
Yes.
then we need also your experience, how to solve it, how to cope
Yes.
with this problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the question. That's an excellent question. And number one, I think if I learned from the Future Ready program that we did, right? When we did the Future Ready labs, we did not use the term coaching because Pak Saka, you've been long in the business, right? You
Yes,
probably know that many managers already
yes,
know what coaching is about. And they already associate coaching with something that is difficult to do, right?
yes,
Something that is tedious to do. So we didn't want to go, we didn't want to have that direct, confrontation with that term coaching. So what we did was, we created our own terminology, right? Called Future Ready Lab. It is not something, we didn't want the managers to feel that they're doing something extra, which is very important, but we wanted to share with them how easy it is. Because many times, many managers think they have to have the answers. And so when we were doing the Future Ready Lab, the first thing, the first thing that they said is, hey, but I don't know what this thing is about AI. I don't know machine learning. How am I going to teach it? So we said, no, your job as a manager is to ask the questions. In fact, as a manager, it gives you a great platform. You can ask your staff all the questions. You ask them, go and Google, go and find out for me. So your job is to ask questions. And lo and behold, when you think about it, coaching is about asking questions, right? And coaching is about learning together and making it fun. And so that's what we did in the Future Ready Lab. We were actually getting the managers to coach without them knowing that they were actually coaching, right? Because of the long legacy that, coaching connotes, right? That negative perception almost that it takes time and all that. And it does, but if you make it fun, you take the short time out. And we told the staff, look, this Future Ready Lab is not one whole day, okay? We design it in such that it could be done within 30 minutes. So 30 minutes and they had to do it 6 times, right? And each time they completed the Future Ready Lab, people scanned the QR code, right, to put in their attendance. And that's how we knew that people were doing it. And then we were tracking what were they doing in those Future Ready Lab sessions, because we had a platform where they can actually put in all their ideas from the Future Ready Lab and log it in. Okay, this is what we've discussed, right? And this is how we're going to apply these Future Ready skills in our branch or in our unit. So that was how we did it, right? But now I would say the other part to it though is the importance of role modeling from the top. Because if the CEO, if the ExCo members, C-1, C-level suite, does pay attention to each manager in terms of how they are managing their teams, then yes, that really helps create the culture. And the performance management system also has to recognize, the fact that it's not just about achieving your KPIs, but it's also about whether you are developing your team. And so we have measures of that. We measure our leaders based on how well they're developing their teams. Promotion is based on whether their leadership skill is sound enough, whether they have had successes, caring for their team, training their team, and so forth. So all parts of HR actually has a role to play to also facilitate that coaching culture, to be honest, from performance management, rewards, training, right, recruitment, etc.
Well, yes. Very good answer, by the way. Um, just a minute. Oh, there is also a second question from PGB Rinda Prima. Very nice presentation, Shameem. Very implemented. How to select fit employees for a new program? Which comes first? Looking for a program to solve customer problems and then giving it to good employees, or looking for good employees, then they are asked to make a good program according to the company's / customer needs. Okay, a very good question, by the way. Please.
Right. Okay. So, number one, the definition of what a good employee is itself based on what the organization wants, right? So actually, the question is going back to number one, being very clear with what the organization is looking for. What is it? Now, I give you an example. When we decided that we wanted to be a digital bank, that strategy is very different than if we wanted to be, continue to be a traditional bank, right? So if we wanted to be a digital bank, then we needed to have the right skills, the leadership, etc., to drive that strategy. Now, if we said, for example, if we wanted to be not rather a digital bank, or let's say we wanted to be the best traditional bank in ASEAN, or we wanted to grow our geography, right? Or we wanted to focus more on geographic expansion and not digital, that would require a different kind of skill sets, right? So it boils down to number one, what is the strategy of the bank? What is its mission, vision, strategy? And finding the right people who are enthusiastic about it and who may not have the answers, but who may, who are really passionate about it enough and who have that learning mindset, who has that leadership abilities, and then you can depend on your staff because they're interested in it and passionate enough about it to get the right answers, right? Or to help build the solutions. And so it always starts with that business aspiration, mission, vision, strategy. And that's the reason why I had it in the slide earlier, that the first thing is look at the strategy, where is it going, and then from there, determining the skill sets, capabilities, requirement, and so forth. Because the chances, we are not a startup, right? If we are a startup, then yes. Then you can band together as a group of friends, right? Let's think about what's the strategy, or let's think about the business model, right? But this is not a startup, and that's where I think it differs.
Yes, wow, it's a very good answer. While waiting for another question, because we still have time, you see, maybe I will ask one question. Could you simplify for the participants and also for me how to utilize technology to bridge the learning hurdles that you already mentioned in one of your slides?
Yes.
Please, because we want to have this, very practical solutions. Please.
Well, Zaka, you always ask the interesting questions, the best questions, because this is really my passion too, right? My passion is actually using technology, right, to bridge learning, to accelerate learning. My vision is if I can make someone learn in 2 seconds, right? Why not, right? We all want to learn quickly, right, and easily and in a fun way. So I would say number one, and I'm very fortunate actually. In Malaysia, we have the ability to get a lot of interns, and this is where the young generation talents, right, is extremely important because they come in with all the technology skills, right? And so in my team, for example, half of my team are interns and people we call proteges, which have a 1-year attachment with the bank. After the college, they come into Maybank, and then after that they work on projects, and then they get employed in other organizations permanently. So half of my team are actually technology people, right? And they keep on, I keep on saying, hey, let's try to make these Zoom training sessions better. How can we do it better, right? How can we personalize it? How can we make it simple enough? What about this video idea? What about this TikTok idea, right? Is it going to help, right? And so literally, Pak Saka, that's all I have to give. That's all I have to give the challenge. I just ask a broad questions to these young talents, these technology savvy talents, right? And I say, find me a solution. I need it to be fun, right? It can be TikTok, whatever, right? and I need them to remember it, right? And can we make it more personal, right? How can we use technology for that, right? And so technology is so accessible now. You can learn a lot of it on your own. And I think HR professionals should, I would say at least, know, not, you don't need to do coding and all that, but know what it's about so that you can get the young talents involved and they can actually help do it for you, right? And then I always look at the edtech area, education technology area, and there's a lot of interesting ideas there. That some of it you can build from scratch for free because it's open source, right? And so you can learn and adapt different technology tools. But really, that's what it is. I have to say now the learning function in Maybank, we have developed our own revenue center. Yes, because and the reason is because when COVID came, the team was actually training our sales staff on social media marketing. So, and we found a way to actually train the sales staff very quickly on how to use social media to be influencers and then to train, and then to actually be that influencer for people. And then that actually helped generate sales leads. So now my learning function is actually running that social media marketing sales channel. Right? And there's a lot of other stuff as well that we're doing. So right now, my learning function is actually a business function, which is very exciting. And I have to say, it keeps us grounded because we know what the challenges on the ground is. We know what the challenges are in getting new business, in getting market share, right? And so we're speaking the same language with the business, which is extremely important.
I see. Yes. Okay. Very good answer. There is one question again from the floor. From FPJB Nancy now. Thank you, Shameem, for the best insight you have shared. In carrying out the program to build digital culture and mindset, what strategy is used to engage the talent? Okay, please, a good question.
Yes. So I think there were multiple strategies here. The first strategy was really making sure that everyone in the organization, from top to bottom, from the CEO down to the line managers, to the supervisors, to the junior executives, to the non-executives, to the tellers, everyone was part of the program. Everyone had to go through, we call it an awareness program, where they had to actually learn, what the 6 future ready skills are, but we made it fun. So we created a lot of games out of it, right? So back in 2018, we could actually go down the ground. We visited different regions. We actually had games. We used this thing called Kahoot, right? Many people use Kahoot. There's gamification involved. But we made it like a timeout. We also made it like a team building session. So learning becomes like team building, fun, energizing, engaging. People are standing on their feet. People are talking about digital, right? And then learning how to be vulnerable, because all this is new, right? And so nobody has the answers. And so that was how we made it fun, right? It had to be engaging, right? And that was one strategy. The second strategy is, of course, having all the classes, right? That would appeal to different people, different proficiency levels, and then making sure that, and this is where the tedious part comes in, we have to track whether the staff are applying the skills to the job. So I always tell the team, 50% of it is, the training. Yes, the training doesn't stop when the classroom ends. In fact, maybe that's only the 20% part, right? The next 70% is really making sure that the staff actually have coaches involved. And this can be external coaches, and this is where we actually hired people who are knowledgeable enough on AI and machine learning to help the staff with their projects and with their, little applications and all that. And so then when we were tracking it and we were having the right support structure, it actually helped people to learn the skills and apply to the job more confidently. If there isn't a support structure after the classroom, it is not, I think the chances of it working is not going to be there.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Wow, very good answer. Yes. While waiting for another question again, because we still have time, I will ask a question regarding the impact realized from the implementation. Maybank, as you mentioned, is really one of a very good model for us. Okay, at least for me. Okay, for implementation and the positive impact that are being realized from that particular implementation. My question is how the participants and also me myself could learn, quote unquote, and imitate positively,
Yeah.
quote unquote, from that particular success.
Sure. Because each organization is different, Pak Saka. So, and that was the reason why I thought the guiding principles are important. So there were 5 guiding principles there, which I shared, and maybe I can share that just to be clear, so that because that is really important. And then the guiding principles, you can apply it maybe more universally, right? So let me share with you that 5 guiding principles, and if you don't want to wait for the slides, please feel free to take a picture of it. Let me share with you here. Hold on, yeah. Okay, so this is where I created this slide because yes, I think these are the different elements which may help some of you to embark on the digital upskilling program or create the next training program that you're thinking about. But really this framework, having that long-term perspective, making sure that, I think for key guiding principle, number 1 is very important to speak the language of the business. And I always say, okay, here is the business outcome that we're driving towards, right? Start with that and see whether that is what your senior leaders are looking for. Because if the outcome that you are driving towards and what they are driving towards is different, and many times it can be different, then the buy-in and the sponsorship is not going to be there. And so that is guiding principle number 1, right? Alignment of objectives, strategies. Second part, once you have that alignment, make sure the senior leaders and L&D people need to talk to the senior leaders, the C-suites, right? The CEO. And actually that I actually report to my CEO, not to the head of HR anymore, simply because the L&D function is now a strategic function, right? And so we are looking at it a long-term perspective, and I need the CEO himself to be the sponsor person, right? And so that is the leadership action part. And then ownership and inclusivity, make sure everyone in the organization has ability to participate in the program. Create different levels of proficiency. From even, I had to create a class on what is Excel, right? How to, because some people our tellers, for example, branch tellers do not use Excel. And yet we want them to be analytics people, right? So we have to bridge the gap, right? And so create classes for everyone to be part of it. And then the infrastructure changes. I even have to equip each branch with laptops to learn, right? because in the branch, Pak Saka, you may know, the branch in the bank is only connected to the banking system. You cannot go into the internet to look at stuff, It's a big compliance issue, right? So the tellers literally are isolated from the rest of the internet world. So how are they going to learn, right? So we literally had to buy laptops for each branch so that they can learn. And this laptop became very useful during COVID, right? Because suddenly now we can Zoom with a laptop, etc. So, I mean, I really thank God because, I did not foresee COVID coming, but we were mindful, we were, guided in the right direction, right? And then learning mindset, right? Make sure that people are comfortable asking questions, right? Foster that learning culture through active participation, making sure your leaders are coaches, right? But like I said, coaches can be, rebranded if you need to. Okay?
Yes, thank you very much. That's a very good answer. We still have around maybe 6 minutes.
Okay.
Maybe while I'm waiting, while waiting from another question from the participant, I can ask again, and then after that, if there is no question from the floor, maybe you can close this session by giving tips to the participants. Okay. My question is, the development of digital talent is so important because ICT is developing very, very fast. Okay? And the problem is, as you mentioned also, that the people in the field, sometimes they are not, learning the digital talent as fast as people who are really very expert or really working with that particular talent. My question is, you're already bridging the gap, okay? You mentioned also how to train the salespeople, etc. But the problem is sometimes that you need also a certain budget. Otherwise, it doesn't come true. How could you propose to your CEO and your CFO that particular budget? Okay.
Yeah.
Seems to me that you are very successful of proposing this. Okay. What is the trick, by the way?
Yes.
Simple trick for participants. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Pak Saka. Yes, demonstrating the return on investment on training is extremely important. So when you're talking to the CEO, CFO, that is what they want to see, right? What am I going to get out of this? And so the design of our training programs. So for example, I share with you on our CEO's balance scorecard, there is a component on a KPI on digital upskilling. And, there's quite a significant weightage on it as well. And that KPI is not about number of staff to be trained, but it's actually about the percentage of staff that are able to apply the skills to the job. That's the first KPI. The second KPI on the CEO scorecard is the impact realized from the training program, right? And that actually looks at what is the percentage of staff who are actually able to realize the impact from training. So these are the two key KPIs that are on our CEO's balance scorecard. Now, how did it get there in the first place? Well, because that is what they're looking for, And so the CEO wanted that, right? And the CFO wants that. So when we design the program, we tell, for example, our training vendors who train on AI, machine learning, or UI UX, that a significant component of that training has to be about application of skills. So action learning, right? Impact learning. In fact, I call it from action learning to impact learning. And the difference is that with action learning, it typically takes about a few months of projects, and then you see the results. But what we've been able to do is that at the end of the training program, there will be application of skills. There will be an impact realized at least for at least 70% of the staff. Okay, and so that's built into the training program design. So the KPIs have to be correct. The program design, therefore, has to align to that. And so the risk, therefore, to L&D is that the staff is not able to apply the skills. So then that's why I said, make sure that the training vendor, whoever you have, focuses on what happens after the classroom. Because really, the challenge is that, right? The challenge is after the classroom. and the Zoom is the same, right?
Yeah.
The challenge is not the Zoom, actually. The challenge is what happens after the Zoom. Nobody does anything. If there is no push, right? If there's no structure around it. So I think many people, and this might be my last parting words, in a digital world, in a Zoom environment, we tend to be focusing on how to make the Zoom interactive, appealing and all that. But that's important. That's a start. Only a start. Maybe the 20% of it, right? The 80% of the work is really after that, right?
Yes.
And so that's the solutioning, the ideation, the creativity that I think the effort should be there.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.